Okay, I told you that I would tell you where English came from. I decided I'm not going to try to do this all in one single video. I'll start it, and then tomorrow I'll finish it. And it's going to take the form of a chart, which I would hope you would write down. It would be in the linguistics section. I would devote an entire page to this, and I coach the kids on how they can lay this out, so it would be a chart. And I'll coach you as if you're doing the very same thing. Now there is one thing, maybe tomorrow is when I should tell you this, but I'm going to tell it to you now, I guess, because I'm thinking of it. I had a student years ago, one of the first times I ever taught a full year. It was 9th grade, it wasn't 8th grade, English. And I taught this. And there was one student, his name was Tim. And I didn't have the very best students in the school at that time, but I had some good students. And he was so influenced by this idea that I'm about to present to you, that I actually think it was life-changing. He was a 9th grader, but he said afterward he never thought about it like that. He ended up moving as an adult to France. I believe he adopted French as his most used language. I think he lived, or it might have been Belgium. And then I lost touch with him later on. But I remember nobody had ever told this to him before, and he was just so amazed at it. Where did his language come from? Well, anyway, so this is devoted to him, Tim. Anyway, about 5,000 years ago, maybe more, in the center of Europe, there was a speech community which spoke a language called, which linguists call Indo-European, Proto-Indo-European. I guess proto meaning before, that's what they spoke. Well, at the top of a piece of paper, this would be page 7, I think section 7, 7.3 or something like that. At the top, on the top line, if you would write down Indo-European and box it, because it's important. Well, that community of speakers began to wander apart. And when they wandered apart, they didn't go back together again. They didn't use telephones at that time, so when they drifted apart, their language drifted. Some went up into northern Europe. This was Central Europe, around the Baltic area. And that resulted in the Slavic languages, which I boxed because that's a family that drifted apart into Slavic. Oh, and I need to tell you that how this was figured out was, I think his name was William Jones. Jones was his last name, Sir William Jones maybe. He went to India and in the 1800s, and he realized that the Sanskrit word for mother was mata or something like that, and in Russian it was mat, and in German it's mutter, in Swedish it's mor, in Latin it's mater, Greek mater, I think, French mère, Spanish and Portuguese madre, and he thought, why is that? Why are these all so similar? And he concluded there must have been a common source. Well, linguists believe that now, and now they've reconstructed it to some extent. Well, those that went north, that drifted into Slavic languages, Russian and the Polish are examples. Those that went all the way down into India, this is called Indo-European because these languages extend all the way from India all the way up into Iceland. The oldest written language there was Sanskrit, a written language, the dead language like Latin in a way, but Gujarati is a modern example. And where I taught public school, I always had some students who spoke Gujarati at home around the dinner table. But there are many. Now, what more important to us who speak English is that those who went across Europe, well, some drifted down into what's now Italy, and that generated the Italic family of languages. Romance languages, they're sometimes called, because of the fact that the Romans spoke these, it comes from that, and Latin is the example. And notice these arrows. From Latin, when the Roman Empire disintegrated, I'm going too fast, tomorrow I'll explain a little bit. When it disintegrated, that Latin drifted apart into Italian and Spanish and Portuguese and French, so that when civilization started up again and these separated speaking communities could get back together again, they couldn't understand each other anymore because their languages had drifted apart. Some of them wandered down into Greece, what's modern-day Greece, and the result was Greek. Some wandered across Europe up into the British Isles and northern France, and those are the Celtic languages. Examples: Gaelic, an old language, I'm not so sure it's still spoken, but modern-day Irish, modern-day Scottish, and modern-day Welsh are results of that. And so there are some other ones too. Trying to think what they call the language spoken in Brittany. Well, in any case, there are some others too, but not terribly important to English. Well, some wandered across northern Europe, and that's the Germanic branch. These are branches of this ancient language. And the Germanic branch, well, it's split in two, and the northern branch, I'll deal with the southern branch tomorrow. The northern branch, as the people wandered apart and separated and their language drifted apart, it produced Danish, Swedish, Norwegian, and Icelandic. So these four languages are actually quite closely related. I believe Icelandic is the one that retains the oldest form of the language. But if someone speaks Swedish, it is not that difficult to understand what's going on with Danish. The grammars, I think, are quite similar, etc. The same deal here. If somebody speaks Portuguese, well, Spanish is not all that different, because you don't have to go that far back before you come to the point where the languages were the same. Now, where's English? I can't really fit it comfortably in this video, so I think I'm going to make you wait until tomorrow. However, if you really would like to, if you can't wait, that Robert McNeil documentary called The Story of English, the second episode is called The Mother Tongue, and it does a very good job of this. I feel a little bit hurried today, but that's maybe just as well. I think tomorrow then I can finish out where did English come from. Now this week I'm going to stick with linguistics for a few more days, and by the end of the week I'm just not sure what I'll do by then. But I hope to see you tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching. I had somebody from Canada send me a comment, so I actually have had a comment. I know somebody's watching, so I always like that. See you tomorrow.